Hello everyone and welcome to the Two Have and Two Roll podcast. My name is Oliver. I am but one half of your hosting duo. With me, as always, is my co-host and wife, Robin. Hey Robin.
Hello.
And we are going to do a podcast celebrating 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. I'm still shocked that over 1,000 people want to support us in doing this silly thing, talking about LARP and D&D. If anybody who has subscribed, thank you so very much. It really does mean the world to us. About a year ago, I think we hit like 100, and I'm just like, oh wow, 100 subscribers. And now like over 1,000, and now we're at this point where we're like, okay, well, what do we want to do in the future? You know, where is this going? You know?
Yeah, it does feel really weird, the fact that we were like you said a year ago, being like, oh my gosh, we got to 100. I guess the next goal is to get to 1,000, and we were like, oh, that's going to be like, you know, crazy to get there. It's really weird to think that we managed to get there now, because yeah, it's just
no, it's been a wild couple of years. We never really expected, like, we didn't plan for this to become a LARP podcast. You know, it was always just I wanted to start a podcast because I'm a podcast consumer myself, and I was like, you know, I think we should start one, you know, because I remember we used to like walk the dog in the mornings, and we used to talk about our interests, whether it was cosplay or D&D. This is like before LARP, and then, you know, our growing interest in LARP before we went. And I was always like, we should just record this and put this out as a podcast. Things kind of happened in our life. You know, there was big shifts, there was a big move for us, and kind of in the tabletop community, we had a bit of a rough time, and we had to kind of forge our own way on our own. And we went, right, okay, you know what, we're gonna rebuild a community, and it is completely down to the LARP community, specifically the Empire LARP community, that has kind of kept us going.
Because like it was scary at the start, like you just said. We had just gone through a pretty rubbish time in the tabletop RPG community, and we were kind of struggling going for it. I remember us being like, oh, do we really want to do this? You know, what if something bad happens again? But like you said, the community, the LARP community, that Empire LARP community has just been incredible. And it's just, you know, really helped us get through all of that and actually enjoy doing this.
Yeah. So looking forward into the future, obviously we are thrilled that the Empire LARP community has taken us up the way it has. The only issue going forward when it comes to growth of a channel is that there's going to be a little bit of a glass ceiling when it comes to creating content just for Empire LARP, because at any one time there's like, you know, 3,000 odd players playing, and people who have played previously and played or planning on going to play, and you might be hitting like 10 to 11,000 people maybe, which is, again, is a good number, but that there is a glass ceiling to that, and it's whether we want to push through that, because we definitely, I'm definitely not saying that we're going to pivot away from making Empire content, because, you know, you don't quit what got you to the dance. You know, you don't you dance with the person you brought to the prom, or whatever that saying is. Basically, we're not gonna go, oh, we've got 1,000 subscribers, let's just start making content on something completely different. But we are going to change a few things up. We're still going to continue doing these podcasts. The subject matter in the podcast might change. It's definitely going to be we're definitely going to carry on documenting our Empire LARP journey as long as it continues. That is definitely not going to stop on our YouTube channel. I would like to start doing some more kind of shorter form content, some more traditional YouTube style videos, like the ones we did. We did one on how to get started with Empire,
Yeah.
which I look back at that now and I'm like, God, that could do with not updating, but I think we're probably better. I'm a better content creator than when we made that. Like that was only 8 months ago as well that we made that.
That's crazy to think that one was only eight
Yeah,
months ago. But like, yeah, like we definitely want to do a few more of those sort of videos to help people get into the hobby, but more generalized videos.
yeah, yeah,
Definitely want to go into a bit more detail on things like, camping at LARP and just smaller things as well, like cooking at LARP, stuff like that, just to kind of answer all those questions that people have.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I would like to do, because there is a crossover in the community as well. I'm not going to completely abandon LARP, but I do want to dip my toe back into TTRPG creation as well, because that was kind of our first gaming love, So,
Yeah.
and like I said, there's a big crossover. So, look forward to more of that from us. But yeah, the podcasts aren't going anywhere. The podcast has been great. The friends that we've made along the way. We've had some amazing guests on. We've been super lucky. The guests have kind of helped us grow this community as much as just us. So if you have come onto the podcast previously, then thank you very much. We love you all. But we're also changing things up on our Discord community. So we're doing a Q&A today. We're going to answer some questions today. These are all from our Discord server. We are in the process of shutting it off to just an open Discord server for a couple of reasons. Security reasons. We've had, once you start getting a little bit of visibility, you're always going to get one or two issues, and obviously just to protect Robin and myself, we are basically going to be changing the Discord server so that you get access through our Patreon, which we've just set up. Currently, the Patreon, it's like I just set up the basic tier for like $3. That'll give you access to our server, and it's just if you want to, it's just a way of supporting us. We will look at content as well that we can put on there if people are interested in that type of thing. It's a good, if you want to support us, it's one of the best ways to support creators in general anyway, because if you give like Twitch subs and things like that, Amazon take a big cut of that. I think the YouTube members as well, I think they take a big cut of that. Super chats, I think they take a good cut. Patreon does as well, but it's a little bit more direct with that. So we're going to be working on that. But everyone who's already in the server, who's already been supporting us in the server, you're going to be staying in the server. You got legacy, you have legacy rights. But with that, we do want to be doing more of these Q&As, because we do get quite a lot. Every time we do these Q&As, we do get quite a lot of questions. So we kind of thought, well, it's probably a good idea if people want to ask questions, then they can be in the server. Because last time I did this, I was like, hey, we're going to put questions in the Discord server. And that's when we got a few problems. We got a lot of people like jumping in that really shouldn't have been in there type thing. So, So if you want to get in there now, it's via the Patreon. I'll put all the links down below. But anyway, should we get into some of these questions, Robin?
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so like Oliver said, all our questions here are through our Discord. I'm just gonna, do you want me to go for the first question?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Our first question is from the wonderful Dolly, who did say this was a joke question, but I'm going to read it out anyway. He said, my question is, who is the sexiest / best Crimson Reaper, and why is it Fark?
Yeah. Okay, yeah, should we answer it? We'll answer it seriously, because
okay.
Just to annoy him and not
just
say
to annoy him.
Yeah. Probably. What's Will's character called again? Lachlan.
Yeah.
There you go.
Probably Emily.
All the Crimson Reapers are sexy.
You're all wonderful human beings, and we love you all.
We love that group. It's been fun. It's funny because obviously we've had two of the members of the Crimson Reapers on the podcast, and we know them more kind of out of character than in character,
Yeah.
really. But it's been fun interacting with the league. It's been fun interacting with the league as well. Because it's difficult at an Empire because it's such a big game, and your nation has such a big impact on your game experience. So it's always good when you have an excuse to role play with other nations and see those intricacies between them.
Yeah, I know, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. You want to go for the next one?
I can read them out. My screen's quite far away, so that's testing my old eyes.
I can get it if you want.
No, I can get it. I can get it. Okay, so this is from Clementine in the Discord server. If you were to start a noble house, what would its theming? Sorry, what would its theming and heraldry be? This is a good question.
It is a really good one because there are so many different things that I would like to do. But the main thing that comes to mind, and this is already a bit of a theming within several houses, but I'm a Game of Thrones fan and I'm a huge Lannister fan. I'd probably create a house and heraldry and lore based a lot around yep around House Lannister. I love the sort of dark history of the house and everything and how you could bring that into it, and it feels very Dawnish as well.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, I haven't really thought too much about this. This is something that I would. It's on my bucket list for playing in Dawn. I think is going through all like making up the heraldry. I know this isn't part of the question, but yeah, the history and things like that. I don't actually have any ideas. Some of the lore that some of the people come up with for their houses. This isn't like exclusive to Dawn either, but yeah, some of the lore that people come up with for their groups is just absolutely amazing. I think scheming and color wise, because we're in a bit of a dark gothic-y house now. I think if I would come back in, I think I would probably go. I know you shouldn't, because we discussed this the other day. You shouldn't go like two primary colors, but I think I would just to break the rules. I would go like I would go like red and blue, with no yellow. Just do that. Maybe like a silver or maybe a bit of yellow, maybe a bit. Heraldry, I haven't really thought much about that either. What I would like to do, so I really like the I'm just gonna I'll name names because like you got like House Griffin song. I'm not entirely sure. They have told me that some of the members have told me bits and pieces about why it's called Griffin song, but it has to do with griffins. There's another house that we've interacted called House Delilah, and they've got they have a unicorn as their heraldry, and there's a lore behind why it's a unicorn, and you get a story with it, So I haven't really thought about what heraldry I would like, but it would have to be something to do with I'd come up with the lore first and then come up with the heraldry, or maybe go, oh yeah, wouldn't it be cool? So like our current heraldry is the hourglass with the black rose, and that's all because we're all about that time that you have, in that hourglass, it's constantly going, it's life, death is the end is inevitable, that theming. So that, I would probably try and find something that would be very different from what we've already done in other houses.
Yeah. Our next question is from Morgan, and this is a very interesting question. Morgan has asked, if Aranel and Godric were to fight Daemon and Nymeria, who would win? Or would Godric and Daemon leave their respective partners for a life of battle, leaving Nymeria and Aranel to become joint empresses?
That's a great question. I think. Ooh, man, that's a really good question. Do you have an answer for this off the bat?
Yeah, I think so. So, well, this is a really tricky one because my gut instinct for answering this one originally, when I read it, was Aranel. Like Aranel would win. She, such, so versed in battle and combat and everything. And then I stopped and thought, no, she wouldn't win, not against Nymeria. Aranel was very, very good. She did things the correct way. She is not honorable because we are not honorable in Dawn, but she was just a good knight, is what she was, I guess, is the best way to describe her. Nymeria is lovely as well, but Nymeria tends to have it planned out before she starts fighting. She's won before she started. She's done all the planning, done all the scheming, done all the plotting that needs to be done, and knows how the fight's going to go before it's even begun. Whereas Aranel would run in and fight and do the right thing, and
I think I completely agree with that second sentiment. Yeah, so if and also the question is if Aranel and Godric, which changes it a bit. It isn't if Godric would fight Daemon and Aranel would fight Nymeria. It's if Aranel and Godric would fight Daemon and Nymeria. So I think they would have a better chance. Godric would definitely have a better chance if Aranel were there. But even though they were quite different, Godric and Aranel, they were very much the same as well in their attitudes towards things. They were very much just like, whoopee, let's go in and do the fight. They were definitely types if you walked up to them, was like, oh yeah, we need people to help us fight this, and you could convince them pretty easily. Whereas Daemon and Nymeria, no, there's like people are already discovering that with us. Like we're very different from Godric and Aranel. I think if they were to fight, no, now I'm thinking about it. Yeah, I think Godric and Aranel will be screwed actually because
they would be screwed.
Daemon and Nymeria, Daemon in particular, would have had the fight won before the fight even started, type thing. I think he would. If it was like an impromptu fight, then I think that Godric would be more prepared because he was the type that would probably just sleep in his armor. But if it was a planned fight, then I don't think Godric and Aranel would have stood a chance. I think Godric and Aranel would be more crowd favourites if it happened in the Glory Square. Then they would definitely be the heels. Because we've definitely gone like we got like baby faces and heels, haven't we? Basically, it would have been a fun one to do. But I like that a fantasy matchup. The second part of the question, would Godric and Daemon leave their respective parts for a life of battle? No, not at all. Because like Daemon would, Godric wouldn't leave Aranel. I don't think, not at the stage that he was at. It depended on what stage of his life. I don't think Daemon and Godric would kind of link arms and trot off to do things. They were very, very different people. And then leaving Nymeria and Aranel to become joint empress. I mean, they probably would be quite a force, Aranel and Nymeria together, but
they would be quite powerful. I feel like just makes me miss Aranel.
Yeah, it's funny. I had a moment. It's been a while, but I had a real moment the other day, and I was just like, sometimes I'm just like driving along, at work, and I will just think about things that have happened and Godric's reactions to certain things, and I'm just like, oh, I'm not going to be able to have to play with that mentality anymore. So because I'm always like the whole like, yeah, let's go off and do the battling and big smile on his face all the time. It's just, but also I get excited about what's to come with our new characters. Onto the next question. There's a few here from John, or is it Rodbard or Rodbeard?
Oh, I've got it off my screen. Sorry.
Or Rodbeard. I'm assuming it's a Wintermarker name.
Yes.
Yeah. So there's a few here from John. First one: which Empire factions, PC or NPCs, would you most like to roleplay with that you haven't already roleplayed with? In brackets, you've probably roleplayed with all the nations by now, so I guess I'm asking about halls, houses, guilds, etc. Factions, there's quite a lot of ones I would like to roleplay with, and it's all NPCs. I would like to, because I haven't got to do much role-playing with NPCs. I got to do, and I've always enjoyed it. It feels a lot more like playing a game when you're role-playing with NPCs, because you're aware that they are there. They've been put there by the game for a reason. They've got some information, so it's a bit more like asking your like when you're playing D&D and you come across an NPC, the DM has put them there for a reason to get. They have something for you, something.
Yeah.
So you're more likely to be like, oh, but you're not going to do that to your other players, because your players they haven't prepared stuff to give you, if you get what I mean. So the NPCs that I have interacted with, like the ghost.
Oh, yeah.
That was really cool, because it was just like, oh, question, and then the Jotun Godi as well, that I talked to. It's just like, oh, you get all excited. You're like, oh, I want to ask you all this stuff, because you've obviously got all this stuff for me. So I would like to talk to more heralds of every realm. Actually, like I'm definitely partial to Winter and Summer Eternals.
Yeah.
But I would like to talk to heralds of every realm. Also, some of the NPCs, like from like the Iron Confederacy and all that, like something along those lines.
I wasn't too sure on this one, to be honest. As RNL, I got a little bit of game with the Koan, and I really was hoping to develop that further and have some more game there, but I died. So I would like to I would like to have a bit more game, a bit more interaction with the Kohan. I find them really interesting. I'd love the opportunity to fight alongside them and to learn a bit more about what they do and things in character. Obviously, we have had members on the podcast before, and I'd like to develop a bit more of that knowledge in character with them. And yeah, because as RNL, I did actually end up having quite a bit of game with them, where they were going to come and help me out on a skirmish, and I got to go in and speak to them all, and it was quite intimidating but really exciting to meet this group of people who were just so eager and excited about going out to fight. They were also one of the last groups I spoke to when they commented on the fact that my palette had changed, because I wore a lot of red before and it had changed into more black. And they said that is a bad omen to wear a lot of black. It is why the Kohan are so colorful. Wearing black is preparing for death. So it is a bad omen to go out to battle in so much black. Yeah.
Kohan were right.
So that was on the Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, the Brass Coast in general, actually, we always walk through the Brass Coast, but I don't get to roleplay with the groups in there as much as I would like either.
Yeah.
Definitely the Kohana. I like their brief and everything. I think, they got a real cool and badass style brief. I would like to roleplay with no specific chapters. I would like to roleplay with High Guard more, because over the past 2 years I've barely had any game with any Highborn. Basically, I've had a conversation here and there, but I haven't had game that's specifically brought me to a High Guard chapter. And I love the High Guard brief and the look and the feel in there, and I think my new character is would fit in a little bit more with stuff going on over there.
Yeah. No, definitely. Yeah, cool. So the next one from John is, what skills from your professional lives do you find most useful at Anvil?
This is an easy one for me to answer. None. None whatsoever.
Yeah, there's no horses at Anvil.
Yeah. I mean, I guess like no, not even. I mean, I have to deal with like clientele, I guess, but
Mm-hmm.
no, literally none of my professional skills are transferable to LARP.
Yeah.
So,
I think kind of some of mine are. I'm a supervisor in a detention room in a high school, and there's a lot of crowd control, I guess, is a good sort of one. So that has definitely developed my confidence for walking in and speaking to a large group of people because yeah, it can be quite intimidating when you've got a room of teenagers who have all been sent there because they've been too bad to stay in the classroom,
yeah.
and to get control of a group like that sort of skills definitely transferred over a bit. But that's it, I think. Honestly,
Yeah,
I think that'll be it.
I think there is like a little LARP gem hidden there somewhere. I think if you really think about it, that we tend to uh we tend to have different versions of ourselves, right? We have a
Mm,
professional version of ourselves. This is why in uh our modern Western culture, we like to have like this is my work voice, and my this is how I behave at work. This is how I behave with my friends, and this is how I behave with my family, and this is how I behave on my own. So I think
yeah.
it's a I'm no psychologist, but yeah, people will they might be like, oh yeah, I don't play a character, but you probably do. Your work persona, especially people who are like in sales, people who work with the general public, and they have to put on a um they put up blast shields of parts of their personality all the time. Social media, usually the opposite happens. Usually, like like we let those floodgates out and things like that. So I think if you're LARPing and you're in an environment where you are having to pitch things to a boardroom, or you're having to show leadership skills, LARP can definitely help you. I'm trying to spin this question into like, oh yeah, what can you get out of LARP for you
Yeah,
know
I was almost gonna say, like, I know that the question was what like skills have you taken for your job into to LARP, but I've taken more skills from LARP and applied it to my everyday job than I
same.
have the other way round. I am more confident at work because of what I do in the LARP field. I feel more capable just as a person in general because I've been able to go out and LARP and fight and do all the scary things that come in with that. I'm a more confident person. And just I feel a bit more prepared. So I think more the other way round applies a lot more here.
Yeah, because I don't. There's a lot of things in my job that I don't get to do. I work on my own, so I don't really get the um, I don't get a lot. I get the same human interactions pretty much all the time. Like,
Mm.
same with people that probably work in retail. It's like, yeah, you're dealing with people every single day, but like I said, you have this like front that you have to put across all the time. That's your professional front. It's not a variety of social interactions. So I mean, this happens in like D&D a lot. Like or video games. I like an archetype, but a lot of people enjoy like that murder hobo thing in D&D, because it's like that they are that they have to follow a certain role every day.
Mm.
They're a law abiding citizen, and they do always do what's right. They're always having to think about other people. And I think the reason why so many people try D&D for the first time, they want to be like, oh yeah, I'm just going to cause chaos, because they can't do that in their actual lives. So definitely for me, I don't really get to do any like public speaking in my day-to-day job. I don't get to certainly don't get to do any acting, in my
No.
day-to-day job. I have to be quite reserved and quiet and softly spoken in my day-to-day job as well. I can't be shouting and things like that, so I can't be over the top. And I'm quite a uh, I enjoy LARP as a creative outlet for that. It's same with D&D as well. Like, I enjoy being able to be like, cut out of that square hole, and be like, I can be any shaped peg. I want to try being this, try being that. That's my personality. And I think a lot of people are like that, but some people don't realize it, you know, and some people are afraid to kind of change their shape a bit. So the next question, there's a couple of questions. I think we can roll them into one. So this is again is from John. When monstering, which imperial groups / nations are the most fun to fight against? Which are the most intimidating, and which are the biggest pushovers? And the other question we can probably just answer as well: is there anyone you would dread facing in a fight? Do you have an answer for this?
I think so. Okay. I'm going to start with the last question of, is there anyone that you dread facing in a fight? There is one nation that I hope I never, ever have to face in a fight.
Get it over with, out the way. Get it over with and out the way first.
Dawn.
Yeah.
I would hate to face Dawn in a fight. We are terrifying.
Yeah,
we just run at them and none of us can stop. Have you tried stopping when you're running in that much armor? You're not stopping. Like, we can't stop. That is terrifying. I would not want to face us.
No, it's funny because there's obviously ones that you get, but because we're constantly on the other side. So the biggest example is like Dawn and Wintermark. Because we're big nations and we're shieldy nations, a lot of the time we don't fight together because we're so big. Navarre seem to like jump between the two, you know? So we're very used to fighting Navarre and Wintermark as Druge, and they are very much used to fighting us as like Jotun. So I guess it's not I wouldn't be worried about fighting Wintermark because I fight them as monsters all the time. Anyway, you know, I'm constantly fighting Wintermark, constantly fighting Navarre. The ones that which are most okay. Let's break this down so we're actually answering the question. So which are the most fun to fight against? The most fun, I would probably say, are Navarre for me, because it's only about half the time we actually get to fight Navarre, and it's quite cool seeing them do their thing in the trees and things like that, and they've got all their tattoos on, and they've got all their they always have their tattoos on, but you know what I mean, their face paint, and they're all you know, they're all like fading into the tree line. They've all got their archers and things like that. It really does feel like you're fighting like these druidic elves or something. They're really fun. The most intimidating is probably between, for me, the Schlachter of Rushka. They were pretty intimidating. Right.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, definitely Verushka for me. They're terrifying.
Well, you got like that one time we fought them like head on. We didn't last long because you got like OC injured, didn't you?
Oh, yeah, they took us out.
yeah. We got absolutely steamrolled by the Schlachter once. And ones that are like fun and intimidating are the Brass Ghosts, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's exactly what I was going to say, is Brass Coast and Verushka. So Brass Coast, I find them so fun and so interesting to fight because they are like, they're so happy. Like, they are really happy on that battlefield. They're all colorful and they're bright and they've got all their bells. And I think they're going to slaughter me. They are so fun to be around on the battlefield.
Yeah, because they're like fighting like rattlesnakes, aren't they? Because it's like it's like fighting something that's like colorful and loud, and they look like they want to be there, and they do not look like they want to step back. You know, they even if they're stopping a line, they always seem to be moving. They always seem to be, again, they're colorful, and they look like they're having a good time, and they're like constantly coming at you. You know, they don't just like stop in a line.
Like, seeing them fight, some of them defy the laws of physics when they are fighting. I have seen them run and jump over people, and I'm just like, how? Yeah. I'm barely getting through these tree roots at the minute, and you're just like, you know, flying past people. Yeah, no, they are definitely the most fun.
I think it's because they have that illusion of like mobility as well. Because a lot of the time you're fighting and you
Yeah.
got that orc mask on, you got armor on, you're like slowly plodding, and they look like they're very rapid in what they're doing. Because again,
Especially with all the fabrics and everything.
yeah,
They really do play into that illusion. They're very distracting.
yeah. The biggest pushovers. There's not really a nation that are big pushovers. Unfortunately, this is just true. Like new players. New players are the biggest pushovers in general, as a generalization. Yeah, you could. I mean, there was a few this year, specifically E2, I think, when we took the Barons back. And because E2, it was like, obviously it was a new year. E2 was the summer event. There was a big influx of new players, and we were fighting like against Navarre and Wintermark, two big nations that a lot of new players go to.
Yeah.
And Dawn were being very, very aggressive, and we were with the marchers and everything. So we were going gun ho, and you could tell out of character that yeah, we were just running at them, and you could see like behind those masks, like new player eyes being like, "Oh, what is this?" I don't know what to do, type thing. So.
Yeah, I know. I think I'd have to agree with you there. I'm not going to pick on a nation and be like a whole nation is a pushover because that's not quite true. But yeah, definitely those sort of like new players.
Yeah, thank you, John.
Right, let's see what's the next one. Okay. So our next one is from Sophie, and Sophie has asked, "What lineage would you most like to try next?"
For me, I think it's got to be. So I've done Changeling. Damon, I almost made him a Draugr.
Yeah.
I've said it a few times. I would like to have him gain a lineage in uptime. So because I think that's just cool. I think it's just a cool game for you to be
Yeah,
like,
it
oh
is.
yeah, I have I've become this lineage because of something that's happening in the game. Um, so for like Draugr, it's like the gift of Sorin. I'm not entirely
Mm.
sure. I think you can literally ask for it. I think. I'm not entirely sure if there's another way of me becoming Draugr. And hey, if the story takes me, I might be another lineage. But currently, him becoming Draugr would be my dream end
Yeah.
goal for him. So even though I've technically not tried that yet, what would I like to try other than those two? Because I think the Changeling and the Draugr are like, it's summer and winter, isn't it? So it's like two complete opposites. I think the other one I would like to try would be Naga, because I like snakes.
Yeah. I love Changeling. Not just because of the look of a changeling. I do love the changeling look. I love the behaviors and the attitude. I love being able to have a reason to role play out being angry at something. It is so much fun. It's something that I don't do often, and it's really fun being able to role play that out. Um, if it wasn't a changeling, I would definitely try Naga. And it's because of the prosthetics. I'm really into like different types of prosthetics. I would love to do a full-on silicon scales over my face and my neck and down my arms. I feel that's really cool. The teeth and the contact lenses, like just the whole makeup experience of a Naga, I think is really cool. I'm a big Doctor Who fan, and there's certain races in Doctor Who that have that real Naga look to them, and I would love to experiment with making that an actual thing. Give me like really high cheekbones with all these scales and everything coming up. I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah, I haven't actually read like the briefs for Naga, so I don't actually know what roleplay. I don't actually
So
know
I
what
can't
roleplay
remember what it
effects
is,
you have.
but basically, I read through. This is why I went back to Changeling. I read through all the role play effects of all of them, and it just kept bringing me back to Changeling. Like I did consider Cambion actually. I considered Cambion.
Yeah, come in and change, because a lot of them are that they're a little
Yeah.
bit like they're a little bit like astrology signs. What do you call it? Horoscopes. So they're a little bit
Mm.
like that. It's a little bit like you can kind of fit yourself into any of them if you try it hard enough. So you could be like, oh yeah, you'd be like, oh, I want to be like passionate, and you could be like, okay, I'm very yeah, I want to be very passionate about what I believe, and I'm going to show that physically. You can say, okay, I could be changeling because they get angry, but
Yeah.
you could also be a Cambion because they get stubborn. You could use both those words interchangeably for describing yourself,
Yeah,
like,
definitely. Yeah.
if you're being a hardcore warrior, you can be like, well, a Cambion makes sense, a changeling makes
Mm.
sense.
No, exactly. Yeah.
Um right, from Phil slash previous General Tancred in the Discord, what's your dream player event to run? Would it be different to your dream player event to play?
So I haven't really thought about this much before, but I think what I'd like is to run a dawn centric player event. Um Very similar to the tournament that we have just had, that incredible tournament that was organized by Dame Orem. I would like a full player event with with tournament styles, with multiple tournaments over a couple of days, really dawn centric, with what are those chairs called when they've got the chairs outside of a
The
stadium?
bleachers.
Yeah, with bleachers around it, with all sorts. I would love to run something like that. That would be really cool. All combat focused, all for glory. And for the second part of the question, no, I would also want to play in that one as well. That's the one I want to run, and that's the one I want to play in as well.
Yeah, it's difficult because I think it's my answer is pretty much the same. I don't know if I want to
Right.
run it, but yeah, my dream player event for would be like a, yeah, I guess it would be a Dornish player event. That, yeah, it would be a tournament, but it would be like it wouldn't just be, oh, let's all get together and all the combat people that like to LARP combat can come. It would be like a storyline. So again, a bit like the tournament we just had in Dawn.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of like, um, it's a little bit orchestrated, and there's going to be a plot. And I think it would be really cool to have like some NPCs coming in as like Black Knights. That would be
Yeah.
really cool. Something along those lines, and then we find out who these Black Knights are, and it's a little bit of a, oh, what, something that's really inherent within the Dornish, the Dornish brief, something that would, not just a random, oh yeah, these Black Knights are Druge or something like that, something that would come out of some kind of Dornish history or something.
Yeah, that'd be really
That
cool,
would be really
actually.
cool. Yeah, running it would be difficult. um, would I want to? Yeah, yeah, that's probably the one I would want to run. It's probably the
Yeah.
one I'd want to play. Player events I would like to play. I would like to play some Valorn stuff. It's just not been right for my character, and I've not been able to get to any.
Mm,
But I would like to play. Uh, I mean, really, I would like to do a big like major conjunction, but that would have to be at an Empire event. Like there's definitely battles that I have in my head that I would like to do, but some things you couldn't do at player events.
do you know what I think would be quite cool, actually? Would be like an event that is almost that typical session one of a D&D game set in a tavern
Yeah,
with drinking games, with tavern games. Maybe somebody comes running up from the kitchen because there's giant rats been spotted. I kind of want to do
yeah.
something
I
like
mean,
that. Small group of people all there, all dealing with something like that. That would be really cool.
we live in um, southwest of England in Gloucestershire, where there's
Mm.
so much history uh, around the Tudor period and previous to, with the War of the Roses and things like that. There's so many historic buildings that would fit not only the Empire setting, but like the Dornish feel, look and feel to them. So there's a lot of taverns,
Yeah.
a lot of pubs around here that could pass as taverns, in that setting. And yeah, I have actually looked and been like, oh yeah, wouldn't it be great just to have literally a night in here pretending we're all in a
Yeah.
tavern?
Warwick Castle would be really cool because they've literally got the jousting thing set up. They've got the huge big center with all the flags all the way around it as well, which is just like a massive glory square pretty much.
Yeah.
That would be really cool.
Yeah. I mean, the question isn't what LARP would you like to run, because I have a long answer for that one.
Yeah.
But that's not the question. You'll have to ask me that the next time we do one of these Q&As.
Yeah. So the next one is again from Phil. How much better have you both gotten with virtue over your 2 years?
Okay, so is this how much better have our characters got? Or
it
us
says
playing
have
our characters?
you over the past 2 years. So I'm going to say it's us because we've had different characters in the past 2 years.
Right, yeah. So yeah, I've got way better with virtues. Like way so much better with virtues.
So virtuous.
Well, no, I don't think that's the question.
I
though,
know.
right?
Yeah.
So because obviously it's a made up religion with a lot of issues to it. But yeah, how much do I know about like virtues over the past 2 years? I probably have a very good. You know what's been weird, like coming off of these answers we're giving, is it's at the beginning of this year we're like, oh, we're not really new players anymore. Now I feel like we are definitely not new players. Like it's amazing how much of this game you pick up. There's still people that have infinitely more knowledge about the game in certain aspects to me, but it's actually quite incredible. Like we've had a couple of like guests on that for whatever reason we haven't interacted with them like early in our game, and the reason we did is because they weren't playing. It's because like it's that stage now we're getting like guests on and they're like, we've been playing longer than them, and it's like, oh, like a lot of the players that I know and roleplay with at Empire now have been playing less time than I have, which is mind blowing to me now.
Yeah. Yeah. So with the virtues question, when I started the game of Empire, I didn't want to touch any of that side, to be honest. I was very much like, I don't like role playing any kind of thing that edges on religion, and it wasn't for me. And I was like, I'm not going to touch it. It's just not going to be for me. Throughout the 2 years of playing it, I've ended up interacting with the game a lot, very organically, to the point now where I understand it in a completely different way than when we started the game. I remember not even fully understanding what the virtues meant. How do you show the virtues? I had zero understanding. Whereas now I interacted with them so much more, but I've also, as a result, made them quite integral to the new character. To like, that was one of the main things that I considered when creating her was, okay, which virtues is she most drawn towards? Whereas before, that's something that didn't even cross my mind. So I think both in-game and out-of-game knowledge on it has definitely gone up, and a lot more comfortable interacting with it as well.
But it's also good game design, really. Like they've managed to keep the woo out of it a lot, even though it is definitely a religion, and there's fantastical aspects to it. Even the fact that like Liao isn't just some magic it is. So they describe Liao like it's a physical substance that we gain and we eat, and like there's a lot of interpretation. Like literally like our visions and our true life visions and our understanding of the labyrinth isn't quite as concrete as maybe like the orcs have, because we take all this Liao and it's all point of view, but it's like they've taken philosophy and made it into religion. They haven't just. I can't remember what Matt said when we had him on. I think he came up with this. He came up with this god, and I can't remember. I wish I could remember exactly what he was like. The god of biscuits or something like that. Like no one cares about the god of biscuits. It's true. Like a lot of like times you play in and I love religion in fantasy. It's my favorite. It's one of my favorite parts of any like fantasy world building is the religion, but from a player perspective, a lot of time it doesn't really matter about your deities and your pantheon and things like that, unless you have someone that really wants to get into that game. Whereas at Empire, they've made it so that the game it's actually better that most people don't know, because you have a whole load of players that want to teach other players about these virtues that they can, and again, it's more philosophy that they've turned into religion. It's great. I love the religion game in Empire. I love the magic
Yeah.
system as well. I enjoy the game. Um, it's amazing. The next question from Phil is: have you got kit upgrades over the winter done, in progress, or planned?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. I have quite a few upgrades for Nymeria. A lot of them were based on the upcoming player events. So for Reapers and History and Virtue, I've got her like a proper nice dress to wear for these ones. I've also finally got a cloak, everyone. I got a cloak.
Yeah.
I will be warm finally. And I got her a new wig as well. There's definitely a few things I'd like to continue adding. I think if finances permit, I want to get the rest of the armor set that I've got, that poly set. I've got like the gorget and the pauldrons. I want to get all the rest of that full set basically, and just slowly keep adding to it because it's really cool. And I want to be like really hard to hit.
Yeah, yeah. So for what like Damon needs, I need I got some more base layers for my combat kit from Bergschneider, which are going to be arriving at some point, and I'm actually going to do a video on them because they are it's like the D&D slash LARP things, which I don't
Yeah.
think a lot of people are really talking about. Um, so I might do a video on like trying those on, unboxing them, and seeing what they're like. But the base layers are pretty much it's like I've got like a gorget piece, uh, gambeson part, and they look thin enough. Because thing is, the gambeson I've got is really thick, so it's
Mm.
practical. But for like LARP, it doesn't really need to be that thick, you know. And also like gambesons, they take away like your sexy silhouette if you're femme or mask, you know what I mean? It just it makes you just very like square, you know, like it kind of takes away the definition of your shoulders and your waist and your hips and whatever. But so these ones look. I'm interested to see what these look like, and they're in the colors that I want. I picked up some gauntlets, but I haven't. I got like half gauntlets, whatever they're called.
Mm.
I'm not very good with armor terminology, but I got a pair of metal gauntlets that I'm gonna have to maybe dull, not dull.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah.
have
Well,
to
like, yeah, I know what you
a bit too
mean.
shiny. So I'm not entirely sure how you get that like black or dark steel finish on actual like polished steel. It's coming from a trained blacksmith, everyone. But
I was about to say, you have a
I'm
literal forge. You must
no,
have a way of doing
no,
this.
no. I mean, it's a different type of blacksmithing. But yeah. So I kind of need to make them so they're not as shiny. But I didn't want to go for the full gauntlets with the fingers because really I very rarely get like hit on the fingers, but you do get hit on the palm and the wrist quite a lot. So I think even though the proper full fingered gauntlets look cool, they take away a lot of your dexterity, you know, for
I mean,
holding.
I found them great when I was wearing them.
Yeah, I mean they're fine, but I just find that like especially when you got a really like I've got a really lightweight uh two-handed sword currently, and like when you've got big bulky like gloves on, it's very difficult to whip it around and um and 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 do all that and also it's real difficult to get like water out of the water bottle thing. It's difficult to get herbs and potions out of your pack when you've got these big
Yeah.
huge gauntlets on and you have to take them off and
I
um
was picturing like take out one of my little potion bottles. Great, smash.
yeah.
Shit.
Yeah, that type of thing. So yeah, I got some half gauntlets. I do need to upgrade. I would really like to make a really fancy flower crown. I think Damon needs one of those for his winter kit. The kit that I had made and I put together for Damon's first ever event is actually quite a warm kit. It's pretty much a winter kit. Unfortunately, I had it done for the hottest event of the year last year. So it's not actually
Yeah.
winter kit I need, it's actually summer kit that I need, but that gives me a little bit more time to upgrade. So I think I'm going to be more than warm enough with a lot of the kit I already have. I would like a new tabard, basically, and or surcoat with heraldry on it because it was a very last minute rush one that I did last time. So
Same. I want like a decent one. I mean, what I'd actually like is one of those gambesons from Chow's.
mm.
Like those ones are really thin. They're quite a nice look, and she's got a really nice burgundy red one that looks really good. I want one of those, like a long one to kind of put on underneath the armor. I think that look cool. And then like get like some heraldry on top of it.
Right, let's get to these last
Right.
questions because they are good questions. These are the last
Okay.
few.
So, to finish off, we have our last questions. Now these are written Discord from Dolly, but they are actually from his partner Emily. And these are the sensible questions.
Dolly, who
First
we
of
had on
all,
the podcast last week.
if you were new to Empire again, what do you wish you would have known before attending?
This is such a good question.
It's a really good
To the
question.
point where I'm like, what would I? What would I? So if you were new to Empire, what would you wish you would have known before attending? I wish I would have the people. I guess that's a weird
Yeah, that's a good
answer,
one actually.
but
Yeah.
the only the best thing that happened after our first Empire events was the people. Like it gets better and better because we know more and more people. Um, we did we did enough research when it came to the weekend, so nothing to do with the game itself. Even if I'd known parts of the game, I wouldn't know that I would want to go into it. I probably still would have brought Godric, who was a
Yeah.
bit vanilla, because I think those types of characters are good to bring in first time.
Hmm.
Someone who doesn't know all the stuff and isn't supposed to know all the stuff. I'm quite happy with the character that I brought in. I'm quite happy with the kit that I brought in. Listening to other content creators on Empire, there's loads out there now that you can get a real good idea for what you actually need when it comes to camping, and we pretty much had everything apart from I would have brought fire and a kettle to make coffee and coffee.
That was my answer. I was
Sorry.
literally going to say that's my only thing that I
Yeah.
would have changed because the only thing we struggled with on that first event, we made friends when we got there. Like we made friends. It was fine.
Yeah.
But I had no armor. I survived. I would have basically done what we literally changed for E2. So between E1 and E2, the things that we changed there are the things I wish I'd kind of known about originally, which was, bring a fire pit and some wood, coal, whatever, like just in case you need it. Because I kind of wish that we had that. And I do wish that we had the, like you said, a kettle and stuff for coffee and things like that. But that is literally, that is it. I mean, everything else was fine. We had everything else we needed for that first event.
Yeah, we were. I mean, a lot of it is luck. The next question from Emily as well is would you have done something different before your first time at Empire? Yeah, not really. We again, with a lot of the stuff that we ended up doing, we were lucky with. I wouldn't have, because this would be different for a lot of people than us. Because I know a lot of people go for their first time. They're like, "Oh, I wish I'd like got a group before I went, or I wish that I had taken this, or I wish I had come as a tourist and then pick my nation." This is going to be different for everybody.
Yeah.
But for us, we picked the. I feel like we picked the right nation. We picked we picked the right way of going about approaching the brief. For us, this is all for us. We came in as a couple, as a pair, so technically a group, and we basically window shopped around for all the groups, and then we eventually joined groups.
Yeah.
We got a good feel for the game. We didn't come in being like, oh, I wish I knew this about Dawn, or this about the magic system, or this about the religion. We had a good grasp of what we wanted.
Yeah. I mean, I think the only thing that I would have maybe had done would have been, so we got our weapons at the event, and it was and that was based on a lot of advice, because obviously you get them at the actual event, they're going to pass weapons check. I got so fixated on weapons check and if they would pass or not. One of the things I wish I'd actually done is got my weapons before the event, I had a bit of a play with them and a feel and done a little bit of that, because although I absolutely love fighting and I loved it so much, I didn't feel as prepared that first event for the combat side of it, which is what I ended up falling in love with. But again, I didn't know I was going to end up loving it so much. But I think maybe that's me like really trying to think of something that I would have done different, and
Yeah,
that would be it.
because you had no idea. We talked about this the other day. Like I cannot remember the moment where you went from me being like, oh, why don't we try this LARP thing, and there's this fighting and blah blah blah, and you were just like, oh, okay, you just like came along because I really wanted to do it, and you were excited and you were a little bit nervous about LARP in general.
Mm.
But when it came to fighting, I can't remember you going from like, oh, this is the thing I absolutely love to do from before it, because you weren't as enthusiastic before. You weren't like, I can't wait to try this combat thing. You just went, okay, I guess I'll go out and do the combat because that's what we do here. And then after that, you were just like hooked.
I mean, without getting into like a really heavy topic, the world day to day can be quite scary. And I think it is really scary when you're a woman out and about just in everyday situations. And having that sort of worrying concern when you're out and about in public, when you're getting into an elevator, when you're walking to your car, everything like that. LARP was my first experience of feeling very strong and powerful. And on that battlefield, having these large people dressed as orcs running away from me, falling at my feet and scared of me or scared of my character, like that just felt the confidence that came from that. Like I felt so capable, I felt so powerful, I felt like, wow, I can achieve anything in this moment. Like that just, I realized how much I needed that in my life. And it is something that I kind of try to encourage everyone to go and try, because it has changed me as a person so much. I'm still very aware of my surroundings and out and about in public, but I treat it differently now, because I know that I am capable of so much that I didn't realize I was before. So I guess that was the moment where I changed from being unsure to absolutely falling in love with it, to the point where all I am looking forward to right now is to get back in that glory square, get back on that battlefield. It's all I'm looking forward to.
Yeah. So I mean, you couldn't have prepared for that. You couldn't have been like, oh
No.
yeah, because again, like we probably would have been like, and this is sort of prep, I guess. Maybe do a bit more like cardio, exercise beforehand, and get ready.
Yeah, because we've totally done that between every event since.
Which we haven't. But I mean, that kind of thing helps. But I mean, I think we were just very lucky. And one of the best things about these types of experiences, because this is role play. This isn't acting. This is different. It's a difference between role play and acting. And I'm not.
Yeah.
I've not been to acting school. I wouldn't be able to like tell you definition what's different. But for me, role playing is it's more like the improv side of acting. It's a very important part of acting, but it's not completely acting. It's role play. So one of the best things about role play is not knowing what is going to happen, having going into the unknown, which is something you do every day when you step out your door. You don't know what interactions you're going to have. You have an idea, but when you're like, okay, I'm going to put myself into these situations where I don't know what's going to happen. That's scary for a lot of people. I don't know. I don't. Someone might ask me about what part of the Empire am I from? And by the way, that very rarely happens. I know it happens to some people. People go worried about their backstories and things like that, and be like, oh yeah, what if someone like drills me about the Empire, and it's like, well, just say I don't know, and I'm not. Again,
I'm new.
Yeah, I'm new, but that is also, you can listen to all this like that bit of advice we just gave, but that's not really what it's about. It's about, if you're role playing, it's being in that moment. It's being in that moment where someone comes up and talks to you, and you're like, oh, okay, I wasn't expecting this. So you want to prep, make sure you're going to have a fun weekend, make sure that you have your safe places to go, make sure that you have everything you're going to need to keep yourself safe and warm and fed for the weekend. that's kind of all you need to do, in my opinion.
Yeah, I
So,
know, definitely.
mm,
Yeah, so on to our final question now.
final question.
Our final question, again from Emily, is this. What helped you on deciding on the second best nation at Empire before attending? Um, First, obviously, being then brackets, players, insert your nation here.
Yeah. I, yeah. So, yeah, it's one of the best things about the game, because your nation at Empire is like your class in D&D or World of Warcraft or something like that. So you're going to get the people that go, oh yeah, paladins are the best class. They are the best class, or clerics or bards are the best class in D&D. An Empire, it's a it's a very much a tribalism game. We're playing an empire against everyone else, and the empire's made up of all these nations. You pick a nation. The idea is they're supposed to be distinct. The gameplay is supposed to be different in each one. So you're going to have preferences. There are people that have played in multiple ones. There are people that play in certain nations but actually think another nation is the best nation. Their friends just play in one nation, but your favorite nation is going to be something very particular to you. That it's not designed to have a right and wrong answer of what's the best one. The best one is going to be the one that you like the look and feel of, that you enjoy playing in. That's going to be the Dawn is Arthurian, myth and legend inspired knights, medieval knights of England and France and Germany. That's the look and feel. If you're not into that, that's obviously not going to be for you. That is what I'm all about. I love that aesthetic. I love the brief. I think I've said this before when it comes to why we chose the nation. Dawn actually was the reason I joined Empire, not. Or so, yeah. So I wanted to LARP, and I saw Dawn, and that's what I wanted to do. I didn't come to Empire and be like, oh, I really want to go to Empire. Which nation do I want to be part of? I saw Dawn first and went, that's what I want to do. And it's part of this game called Empire, and blah, blah, and I get to go and be a knight in shining armor. That's literally what I want to go do, and fight orcs as a knight. In a kind of mid-tier magic system fantasy setting, and it's a bit political. And that's the type of game that I would like to play. There's all these other awesome nations which just added to the experience of Dawn for me. So it wasn't really a which one do I decide on.
Yeah. I mean, for me, when it came to deciding on Dawn, honestly, I didn't make the decision. When I know Oliver has retold this story many times now, where he sort of like came in through and was like, I want to try this LARP thing. I went for Dawn because it is the one that Oliver had really liked the look of, and I didn't feel overly drawn to any of them to begin with. I was more just like, oh, well, I don't really know. I don't know what it's going to be like, and it took me a while. I think when you read out the testing aspect of Dawn, like the test of ardor and things like that, that immediately started playing scenarios in my head that I was like, oh wow, I think I want to like go through that and everything. Honestly, I wasn't too sure. It was just like you've already said a few times, we were so lucky with how we ended up just falling into the right game for us. Now I honestly cannot imagine myself in any other nation at all. I love Dawn so much, and I can see myself in Dawn for a very long time. Even if Nymeria goes, I can see myself playing every single archetype in Dawn because I adore it.
Yeah, we've discussed this before. Like, I honestly, like, there's other nations that I now that I know them better, like I still like the brief of certain ones a lot. And there's certain ones that I like playing with, but probably wouldn't want to be part of. But for me to leave Dawn, it would need to be like an out of character reason, or if our group literally came up to us and gave us like a pitch for moving, and was like, "Hey,
yeah. If the entire group wanted to move to a different nation, then it'd be like, yeah.
And again, it would need to be like in a fantastic pitch or a really good reason, like if they went, right, okay, I've got this idea for a High Guard chapter. here is the pitch, you know, like a DM coming to you with a campaign pitch, like, oh yeah, I've got this idea, it's a high guard thing, this is the history, this is the look and feel, this is what I want to do with it. That would be the only reason I would ever move currently. So okay, so that was the last of our questions. Thank you very much, everyone who submitted questions into our Discord. Again, if you want to jump into our Discord community, then you can do via our Patreon. I will put a link down below, or if you just want to support us, there are other ways of supporting us, things like coffee and things like that. The biggest thing you can do to support us, though, is to like this video, subscribe to the channel if you are new here, and comment down below. If you're listening on your favorite audio platform, leaving us a 5-star review also will help us out tremendously. With all that done and dusted, we are going to say goodbye. Make sure you go and check out some of our other videos that we have done if you're sitting watching this on YouTube. Until the next time, though, we love you very much and stay safe.